I thought my wife was helping her ill friend, but she was actually trying to move her affair partner in. So I filed for divorce, and 3 months later, this happened. I never thought I'd be writing a post like this, but here I am, feeling lost and betrayed by the person I thought I knew better than anyone else in the world. My name is Jack, 36M, and I've been married to Natalie, 34F, for 8 years now. We met during our sophomore year of college when we were both volunteering at a local animal shelter. I remember the day clearly. I was struggling to clean out a particularly stubborn cat litter box, and Natalie swooped in with her infectious laugh and showed me a trick to make it easier. From that moment on, we were inseparable. Our relationship blossomed quickly. We bonded over our shared love of animals, our passion for outdoor adventures, and our dreams of making a difference in the world. After graduation, we moved in together and started building our life. I landed a job as a junior software engineer at a startup, while Natalie pursued her dream of working in marketing. We supported each other through late nights, stressful projects, and career uncertainties. When I doubted myself during a particularly challenging coding project, Natalie was there with words of encouragement and her famous homemade chocolate chip cookies. And when she was nervous about giving her first big presentation to a client, I stayed up all night helping her rehearse. We got married in a small ceremony in Natalie's parents' backyard, surrounded by our closest friends and family. It wasn't fancy, but it was perfect for us. I still remember the way Natalie's eyes sparkled as we said our vows under the old oak tree where we had shared our first kiss. Over the years, we've had our ups and downs like any couple, but we always managed to work through our issues together. We've supported each other through job changes, the loss of loved ones, and the everyday stresses of life. When my dad passed away 2 years ago, Natalie was my rock. She handled all the funeral arrangements, took care of notifying family and friends, and held me as I cried night after night. I couldn't have gotten through that dark time without her. That's why what happened last week has left me reeling, questioning everything I thought I knew about our relationship. I came home from work earlier than usual last Tuesday. As I walked in, I noticed Natalie was on the phone, speaking in hushed tones. She quickly ended the call when she saw me, which was odd because Natalie has always been open about her conversations. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I noticed she seemed nervous and fidgety throughout dinner. After we finished eating, Natalie sat me down and said she needed to talk about something important. My heart started racing, thinking maybe she was pregnant. We've been trying for a baby for the past year, or had gotten a job offer in another city. But what she said next left me completely shocked. Natalie told me that her friend Emma, 33F, was going through a tough time. Apparently, Emma had just been diagnosed with a chronic illness and needed a lot of support. Natalie said she had offered Emma to stay with us for a while, to help her cope with her condition and treatments. Now, I've known Emma almost as long as I've known Natalie. They've been friends since high school, and Emma was even one of Natalie's bridesmaids at our wedding. Emma has always been a bit of a free spirit, the kind of person who quits her job to backpack through Europe or decides to learn trapeze on a whim. I've always admired her zest for life, even if I couldn't quite keep up with her adventures. At first, I thought Natalie's offer to help Emma was a kind gesture. It's the sort of thing Natalie would do. She's always been the first to offer help to friends in need. But then Natalie dropped the bombshell. She wanted me to move out of our house for the next 6 months so Emma could move in. I was stunned. I asked Natalie why Emma couldn't stay in our guest room, or why I had to be the one to leave. Natalie's response was that Emma needed a stress-free environment and that my presence might make her uncomfortable. She said Emma needed a female companion to help her through this difficult time. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was our home, the place we had built together over the years. The place where we had celebrated promotions, mourned losses, and dreamed about our future family. How could Natalie ask me to leave? And for 6 months? What about our life together? Our routines? Our intimacy? I told Natalie I needed time to think about it. She agreed but kept emphasizing how important this was to her and how much she'd appreciate my cooperation. I spent the night tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Memories of our life together kept flashing through my mind. Our first date at the local pizza place, where Natalie impressed me by eating a whole large pizza by herself. The time we got lost on a hiking trip and ended up camping under the stars. The quiet evenings we spent reading books side by side on our worn-out couch. The next day, I tried to have a rational conversation with Natalie. I asked her about the details of Emma's condition, wondering if there were other options we could explore to help her friend without disrupting our entire life. Natalie was vague about the specifics, which made me even more suspicious. In all the years I've known her, Natalie has always been direct and transparent. This evasiveness was completely out of character. I suggested we could help Emma find a nearby apartment, or maybe contribute to hiring a part-time caregiver. But Natalie insisted that Emma needed to stay in our house, and that I needed to leave. She even went as far as to say that if I truly loved her, I would do this for her without question. That's when I started to feel like something wasn't right. Why was Natalie so insistent on this particular arrangement? Why couldn't we find a compromise that worked for everyone? The more I pressed for answers, the more defensive Natalie became. I decided to do some digging. I reached out to some of our mutual friends, asking if they knew about Emma's condition. To my surprise, none of them had heard anything about Emma being sick. In fact, Our friend Tom mentioned seeing Emma at a party just last weekend, looking perfectly healthy and happy. Tom said Emma was talking about her plans to start a new yoga studio in the city. Now, I'm sitting here, typing this post, feeling lost and betrayed. I can't help but think there's more to this story than Natalie is telling me. Is Emma really sick? Or is there something else going on? Am I being paranoid, or is my gut feeling right? I love Natalie, and I've always trusted her completely. We've been through so much together, from the stress of my startup going under 3 years ago, which led to me taking my current job, to the joy of finally paying off Natalie's student loans last year. We've always been a team, facing life's challenges together. But this situation has shaken me to my core. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I can't ignore the red flags either. The secretive phone call, the vague explanations, the insistence that I leave our home, none of it adds up. And yet, part of me still wants to believe that there's a reasonable explanation for all of this. Maybe Emma confided in Natalie about her illness and asked her to keep it secret? Maybe Natalie is just being overly protective of her friend? But then I remember the look in Natalie's eyes when she asked me to leave. It wasn't the look of someone asking for a favor, it was the look of someone hiding something. And that scares me more than anything. How do I confront Natalie about my suspicions without seeming like I don't trust her? Should I agree to move out, or stand my ground? I'm torn between my love for my wife and my self-respect. The thought of leaving our home, the place where we've built our life together, feels like giving up on everything we've worked for. But the thought of staying in a house where I'm clearly not wanted is equally painful. I could really use some advice. Has anyone been in a similar situation? How did you handle it? I feel like I'm at a crossroads in my marriage, and I don't know which way to turn. The life I thought I had, the future I imagined for us, it all seems to be crumbling around me, and I don't know how to stop it. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since my original post, and I want to thank everyone who offered advice and support. Your comments gave me the courage to confront the situation head on, even though it led to one of the most painful conversations of my life. After reading your responses, I realized I needed to have a serious talk with Natalie. I decided to approach it calmly and openly, giving her a chance to explain everything. Last Saturday, I asked Natalie if we could have a talk. She seemed nervous but agreed. I sat her down in our living room, the same room where we had spent countless evenings watching movies, playing board games, and just enjoying each other's company. I told her about my concerns, the inconsistencies I'd noticed, and how her request had made me feel. I mentioned that I had spoken to our friends and that no one seemed to know about Emma's supposed illness. At first, Natalie tried to stick to her story about Emma being sick. But as I pressed for more details and shared what I'd learned from our friends, she began to crack. I could see the internal struggle in her eyes, the same eyes that used to light up every time I walked into a room. Finally, after what felt like hours of tense conversation, Natalie broke down and confessed the truth. It turns out, there was no sick friend. Emma was fine. The real reason Natalie wanted me to move out was because she had been having an affair for the past 6 months. The person she wanted to move in wasn't Emma, but her lover, Mark, 35M, who works in her office. I felt like the world was crumbling around me. Natalie explained through tears that she had developed feelings for Mark during a work project last year. They had been working late nights on a big marketing campaign, and what started as innocent flirting had turned into a full-blown affair. She said she was confused about her feelings and thought having Mark move in would help her figure things out. As Natalie spoke, memories flooded my mind. I remembered how excited Natalie had been about this project, how she would come home buzzing with energy, talking about new ideas and strategies. I had been so proud of her, never once suspecting that her enthusiasm might have had another source. I asked Natalie why she didn't just tell me she wanted a divorce if she was unhappy. She said she was scared of hurting me and thought this way she could ease into the separation. She claimed she still loved me, but wasn't sure if she was in love with me anymore. I was devastated. All those years of trust, all our plans for the future, shattered in an instant. I thought about all the times in the past 6 months when Natalie had said she was working late or going out with friends. How many of those times had she actually been with Mark? How could I have been so blind? In the heat of the moment, I told Natalie to pack her bags and leave. I said if she wanted to be with Mark so badly, she could go live with him. She begged for forgiveness, saying she had made a terrible mistake and that she still loved me. But I couldn't bear to look at her. The Natalie I knew, the Natalie I loved, would never have done something like this. Natalie left that night to stay with her sister. I've been alone in our house for the past week, trying to process everything. I've gone through a roller coaster of emotions, anger, sadness, disbelief, and even moments of numbness. I've spent hours sitting in our bedroom, looking at old photos and mementos from our life together. The ticket stubs from our first concert date, the seashells we collected on our honeymoon, the silly caricature drawing we had done at a fair last summer, each item a reminder of the life I thought we had. I've contacted a lawyer to discuss my options. We don't have children, which simplifies things somewhat, but we do have shared assets to consider. The lawyer advised me to gather all important financial documents and to avoid any major decisions until we've had a chance to review everything. I've also reached out to my family and close friends for support. Their love and understanding have been a lifeline during this difficult time. My brother even flew in to stay with me for a few days, which has been incredibly helpful. He's been cooking meals, helping me sort through paperwork, and just being there to listen when I need to talk. As for Natalie, she's been sending me messages daily, alternating between apologies, pleas for another chance, and accusations that I'm being too harsh. I've mostly ignored them, only responding to practical matters about the house and our finances. It's strange how quickly someone can go from being your whole world to feeling like a stranger. I'm still in shock, but I'm also starting to feel a sense of clarity. I know now that I can't continue this marriage. The trust is broken, and I don't think I could ever look at Natalie the same way again. Every time I close my eyes, I see her with Mark, and it makes me physically ill. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know I need to focus on healing and moving forward. I've started looking into individual counseling to help me process everything. I'm also thinking about taking a leave of absence from work to give myself some time to figure things out. Part of me wonders if there were signs I missed. Was I not attentive enough? Did I take Natalie for granted? But then I remind myself that nothing I did or didn't do justifies her actions. She made a choice, multiple choices, to betray our marriage. Has anyone been through a similar experience? How did you rebuild your life after such a betrayal? How do you learn to trust again? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Right now, I feel like I'm drowning in a sea of memories and broken promises, and I'm not sure how to find my way back to shore. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and I wanted to share what's been happening. The past few weeks have been a whirlwind of emotions and decisions. After consulting with my lawyer, I decided to file for divorce. It wasn't an easy choice, but I knew it was the right one for me. I couldn't imagine trying to rebuild a relationship with someone who had betrayed me so deeply. Every time I thought about giving Natalie another chance, I was haunted by images of her with Mark. I remember sitting in the lawyer's office, signing the papers. My hand shook as I wrote my signature, finalizing the end of what I thought would be my forever. It felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life fall apart. Natalie didn't take the news well. When I told her about my decision to divorce, she broke down completely. She came to the house, begging me to reconsider, promising to cut all ties with Mark and to do whatever it took to save our marriage. She brought up memories of our past, our first date, our wedding day, the trips we'd taken together. But for me, those once happy memories were now tainted by her betrayal. In a surprising turn of events, I received a message from Mark about a week ago. He apologized for his role in the affair and offered to meet with me to explain his side of the story. After some consideration, I agreed to meet him at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown where Natalie and I used to have Sunday brunch. Seeing Mark in person was harder than I expected. He looked nervous and uncomfortable, which gave me a grim sense of satisfaction. During our meeting, Mark revealed that Natalie had told him she was separated and in the process of divorcing me. He claimed he had no idea she was still in a committed relationship. While I was angry at him for not verifying Natalie's story, I appreciated his honesty and willingness to come clean. This revelation added another layer of betrayal to Natalie's actions. Not only had she cheated on me, but she had also lied to her lover about our relationship status. It made me realize just how deep her deception ran. I found myself wondering how many other lies she had told, how many other aspects of our life together had been a facade. On the practical side of things, Natalie and I have started the process of dividing our assets. We've agreed to sell our house and split the proceeds. It's painful to think about leaving the home we built together, but I know it's necessary for a clean break. Each room holds memories, both good and bad, and I know I need a fresh start to move on. I've started looking for a new apartment. The idea of a fresh start in a new place is both exciting and terrifying. My friends have been incredibly supportive, helping me pack and even offering to help with the move. It's during times like these that you really learn who your true friends are. Work has been a welcome distraction through all of this. I've thrown myself into my projects, finding solace in the logical world of coding where problems have clear solutions. My boss has been understanding about my need for occasional personal days to deal with legal matters. I'm grateful for the stability my job provides during this turbulent time in my personal life. As for my emotional state, I'm still processing everything. Some days are better than others. There are moments when I feel strong and confident in my decision, and others when the weight of everything that's happened threatens to overwhelm me. I've started seeing a counselor to help me work through my feelings of betrayal and to develop coping strategies for moving forward. It's been helpful to have a neutral party to talk to about everything. I've also reconnected with old friends and have been making an effort to socialize more. Last weekend, I went on a hiking trip with a group from work. It felt good to be out in nature, away from all the stress and drama. As I stood on top of a hill, looking out at the view, I felt a glimmer of hope for the first time in weeks. It reminded me that there's a whole world out there beyond my current pain. Natalie continues to reach out, but I've maintained my distance. I've made it clear that all communication should go through our lawyers unless it's about urgent matters related to the house or finances. It's hard, especially when I see her name pop up on my phone, but I know it's necessary for my own healing. As I navigate this new chapter of my life, I'm trying to focus on the future rather than dwelling on the past. It's not easy, but I'm taking it one day at a time. I've started a journal to help process my thoughts and emotions. Writing has become a kind of therapy for me, helping me make sense of everything that's happened. Has anyone been through a divorce under similar circumstances? How did you rebuild your life and learn to trust again? Any advice would be much appreciated. Right now, I'm just trying to keep my head above water and figure out who I'm outside of my marriage. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I wanted to share some final thoughts on this chapter of my life. The divorce is now finalized. It was a difficult and emotionally draining process, but I'm relieved it's over. We managed to settle most things amicably, thanks in large part to our lawyers who helped keep things civil. Signing those final papers was bittersweet. It marked the official end of my marriage, but also the beginning of a new chapter in my life. I've moved into my new apartment. It's smaller than our house, but it feels like a fresh start. Decorating it has been therapeutic in a way. Choosing new furniture and arranging things just how I like them has given me a sense of control that I felt I had lost. I've hung up some of my own photography, landscapes from hikes I've taken since the separation. They serve as a reminder of the beauty and possibilities that still exist in the world. Natalie and I have had minimal contact since the divorce was finalized. She sent me an email apologizing once again for everything and wishing me well. I appreciated the gesture, but I've made it clear that I need space and time to heal. It's strange to think that someone who was once the center of my world is now essentially a stranger. As for Mark, I heard through mutual friends that he and Natalie are no longer together. Apparently, the whole situation was too much for him to handle. In a way, I feel a sense of grim satisfaction knowing that their relationship couldn't withstand the weight of how it began. It's a small comfort, but a comfort nonetheless. On a personal level, I've been focusing on self-improvement. I've taken up running and have even signed up for a half marathon later this year. The physical exertion has been great for clearing my head and managing stress. There's something empowering about pushing my body to its limits, proving to myself that I'm stronger than I thought. I've also started taking a cooking class. It's something I've always wanted to do but never found the time for when I was married. Learning new skills and meeting new people has been incredibly rewarding. Last week, I successfully made a soufflé, something I never would have attempted before. It's these small victories that keep me going. Work has been going well. I recently got assigned to lead a new project, which has been a welcome challenge. Throwing myself into my career has helped me regain some of the confidence I lost during the divorce. My colleagues have been supportive, and it feels good to be recognized for my skills and hard work. As for my emotional state, I won't pretend it's all been smooth sailing. There are still days when the pain and anger resurface. Sometimes a song on the radio or a familiar scent can bring back a flood of memories. But overall, I feel like I'm in a much better place than I was a few months ago. The counseling has been incredibly helpful in processing my emotions and developing healthier coping mechanisms. I've started to dip my toes back into the dating pool, though I'm taking things very slowly. I've had a few coffee dates, nothing serious, but it's nice to remember that there are other people out there and that I'm capable of making connections again. It's scary, and there are moments when I worry about being hurt again, but I'm trying to stay open to the possibility of finding happiness with someone new. Looking back on this whole experience, I can see how much I've grown. While I wouldn't wish this pain on anyone, I've learned a lot about myself, my resilience, and what I truly want in a relationship. I've discovered strengths I didn't know I had and have forged deeper connections with friends and family who stood by me during the darkest times. To anyone going through a similar situation, I want to say that it does get better. It's not easy, and it takes time, but you can come out the other side stronger. Focus on yourself, surround yourself with supportive people, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Thank you to everyone who has followed my story and offered support and advice along the way. Your kindness has meant more than you know. Here's to new beginnings and brighter days ahead.